So today I'm going to start a little series on performance modifications on the ND2. So this is a 2-litre car, the ND2, which has the increased brake horsepower standard. So let's see if we can get a little bit more power out of it. So it's going to be a short series of videos on the processes and little things I do to basically get the power and see what figure we end up with. So the first one, the obvious one, which is the same on most cars, exhaust manifold. Change the exhaust manifold, releases a good amount of power. What I'm going to look to do is do these changes, and then there's going to be one dyno session at the end to take advantage of everything. So the first thing to do is to remove the manifold. So we need to get rid of this heat shield. You've got two nuts on the top of the heat shield, and you've got a nut on the side here. These are 10mm. So those are your 3 bolts. Take out the cover on the manifold. Obviously, so what you've got is, this is obviously your standard manifold. I'll get you in a better position. So here's your exhaust manifold. This is the standard one with the cover off. So obviously you've got the nuts holding it to the engine, to the head. So you've got those. This metal plate looks like it's attached to the flange of the exhaust, so that should come out together. You've got down there, I don't know if you can see, there's a lambda sensor in there, so may have to take that out to ease it out the top. So there is a bracket at the bottom. I believe there's 2 bolts holding it to a bracket down the bottom, and obviously it's then going to have the bolts into the flange to meet to the mid pipe. So you're going to have to get that get the car up in the air and do that from underneath. That's probably going to be my next thing before I even start trying to get to these head bolts. So let's crack on with that. So you've got your exhaust there. Obviously you've got these plates. So there's an under tray there, center section. There's this middle one, plates. So what we need to do is we need to get involved in this one. So you can see the bracket there. There's that bracket with the 2 bolts, connects to the bottom of the manifold. And then you've got this flange here as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this under tray, and this under tray, and then we can go from there. Now you've got the under tray off, you can see those 4 bolts holding that bracket. So I'm going to get those 4 bolts off that hold the bottom of the manifold, and then that will be the bottom bit free other than this joint that I need to disconnect. So down there is the plug to the O2 sensor. I'm going to try and get that undone and see if I can take out the O2 sensor in the manifold rather than having to undo it. So it's time to get the header off. I've undone the mid pipe below. That was awful. It was rusted and I had to angle grind it off, so that was great. But we're past that now and on to, hopefully, these bolts and nuts are far easier to get to than the NC, so fingers crossed. So it won't come out. This is where I believe you have to take off this side engine mount, jack the engine up and tilt the engine that way, and then that should free up some space to be able to get the manifold out through the hole. The wiring to the O2 sensor, I've unclipped the socket, but there's actually a clip that you need to undo from the engine. So just get a screwdriver to get under the top lip and ping it. That's the white clip I'm talking about. So that bit tag sticking out the top, get a screwdriver under that, ping it up, and you should be able to take that wiring out. So I push the manifold to the back. What you need to do is get the top nut off this engine mount. Right, so it's jacked up a little bit. Let's see. We're going to need a little bit more. Oh, we're stuck, but oh, there we go. Then obviously you've got the gasket. This is the factory metal crushed gasket. I've ordered another one. I don't know, maybe you could get away with it again. But obviously it's going to deform to the shape of the manifold for the sake of a gasket. you do all this work and then it has an exhaust blow. Not really something I want to play around with. So now looking at the O2 sensor here, it's a 22mm socket, or you could probably get a 22mm spanner on that, but you can get an O2 socket. So they're designed so the wire goes over like that. Get on there with a ratchet, and then it's still not going. It has. A lot of time with these is they're really tight and then they're fine, then they're really loose. So obviously these are your two manifolds, the original one on the left hand side and the new one on the right. So they followed fairly similar design of the tube layout. The tubing is larger diameter, so that's a plus, and you obviously don't have a catalytic converter. So the O2 pretty much fits in the same place. Looks good. Been nicely welded. To give you an idea of the tube size difference, let's have a look at standard tube. That is just under 38mm. So 38mm, not going on here. So let's have a look at the size of this one. So we are at just over 42. So it's a nice increase. 4mm is nothing to be ashamed of. So having a look on the flange side, they're not too bad, these transitions, but you can see there's a step. I'm gonna grind some of that away. They're welded on both sides. I'm just gonna try and smooth that out a bit. Things are looking a little bit better now. Like I said, never gonna be perfect. I've smoothed the transition into the tubes. That looks better. So yeah, happy that can go on the car now. Then I've got a brand new gasket, Mazda one. They're not particularly cheap, but hey ho. One thing I have noticed is that the holes they've drilled for the manifold flange are bigger than the studs, so it actually moves around a bit. I had a quick look, and all I'm going to do... Oh, that's interesting. The O2 sensor hits the engine mount at the angle they've come out at for the exhaust. So let me ponder that. So obviously I could get the manifold redone, but that's going to be a lot of hassle. So what I'm going to try and do is just notch this aluminium engine mount slightly where I've marked it, notch that out, see if that's enough clearance, and go from there. What I'll do is I will feed back, I've taken a picture, and I will feed that back to the manufacturer of the exhaust, and maybe hopefully they'll take note. So let's see how well this goes. So I'm going to see if that is enough before I just neaten up the edges. So I'm going to put it in rough now, see if it works, and then yeah, rock and roll. So I'm not going to lie and say everything's gone easily. So I showed you the O2 sensor issue, which I'll feed back to them, but also this bracket here that's welded onto the manifold. I've had to bend that a bit to be able to get it onto this bracket, and at the moment I've only got one bolt in. I think with a bit more manipulation I can get another bolt in, but to be honest I'm happy with one. But that's another thing you might have to play around with. So yeah, it's not all easy sailing, but it's not particularly hard either. So I wanted to show the engine mount as well. You see how much I've cut out to give it some leeway. It is a bit close, but I'm going to push this sheathing down to protect the wires. It moves. I'm going to push that down, and all of this isn't going to flex because it's all there's no flex joint in the manifold or anything like that, so it should be fixed and it shouldn't touch at all. So what I'm going to do is feed back that this O2 sensor should be in more of an angle, and that will get rid of the whole issue. So I've been putting all the nuts in to do it up, and try and not just do it all up on one, try and even it out to try and pull it up. Everyone's easy to get to other than this center bottom one, which I've used the flexi on. These are 40 to 44 Newton meters. So I've pretty much got there already. Pretty much there. And then I'll do the center one. So that is all of them done up. So that's done up. The O2 sensor's in. Now I'm going to let the jack off and put the engine back down straight. Clip your O2 sensor back in into the little white clip and then into the socket. And then I've got to put the nut on the engine mount. Tight. So that is everything as far as I know. Obviously at the beginning I had taken off the racing, so you can get to that, so that needs to go back on at some point. I'm going to leave it off at the moment just in case I need to get to anything again. And now I've got to look at the connection to the mid pipe. I'm happy with how that's looking, all done up. Yeah, good. So the downpipe to the standard mid pipe has been connected. I used one of these type of gaskets with the end cut off so the bolt could go out further. Don't know if it's going to blow. It's a temporary measure for me, but yeah, you can put one of the original type circular gaskets in there. They're like expanding. I haven't seen them before. So I bolted those up and plugged in the cat. And now I'm about to bolt up the rear box. So it's all in. You've seen the startup video. Obviously this is still at cold start, so it's got that ND rattle noise, which is horrible until you realise that it's okay. Anyway, so yeah. So this is with a standard mid pipe and standard back box. The idle, really not a lot of difference. From inside the car, definitely a different note. Interesting. So that's the end of the video of how to fit a manifold into an ND. You need to have a little bit of skill, but yeah, it just shows you that you can do it a bit cheaper than some of the main makes out there. And hopefully the numbers later on will prove it.